What I want to talk about is that I believe Kamala Harris was put in this position to lose. I believe she was put here to take the loss. And let me explain what I'm talking about here. The DNC, the Democrats, the corrupt, complicit media has been gaslighting America for years. You know, Joe Biden is full of vigor, sharp as a tack, got his wits about him, full of energy, running all over that White House, just passing laws and signing things and taking care of things. Just spoke with him this morning, and he was on point the entire time. Now, the country is split into two groups, the non-brains and the have-brains. Now, the non-brains believe that. Yeah, Joe Biden, yeah, full of vigor, full of energy. You know, regardless of what I see, these are my lying eyes lying to me. Then you have the have-brains. And we're like, are you kidding me? Are all of you all idiots? This guy's cooked. He's done. He left the farm a long time ago. But they just continued to gaslight and lie to America, and the non-brains believed it. They believed it all. Then, like I said, you have a complicit, corrupt media who's just, playing ball with the DNC, spreading the lies, pushing the narrative. But during all this spreading the lies and pushing the narrative, one thing they were doing is beating the living hell out of Kamala Harris. You have to remember, the day before the debate, all the Democrats hated Kamala Harris. All the networks hated Kamala Harris. They all hated Kamala Harris. All of them. Now, I was going to play a couple of videos for you that I simply cannot find anymore. They have been scrubbed from the internet and from YouTube. One was MSNBC stating that Kamala Harris is literally the worst vice president in the history of America and makes very poor decisions. The other one was CNN saying that Joe Biden must replace Kamala Harris as vice president or she will cause him to lose. I cannot find these videos anywhere any longer. They are gone. As most of these liberal shill hack networks have scrubbed. But you can still find some things that other people, such as myself, has recorded, and they can't scrub those. Now, unfortunately, I cannot find those two. But I do know that, I can't remember the guy's name, Devory Dawkins. My bad. I should probably know who this guy is. He's got a big YouTube channel. I do know that he has one of those. I'm pretty sure it's him. He has one of those on his YouTube channel. I think it's the MSNBC one saying that Kamala Harris is literally the worst vice president ever. But don't hold me to that it's him. But I am going to try to find it. But, I don't have time to sit here and scrub through 9,000 videos to find a clip somewhere during somebody's video. But regardless of that, they've absolutely been gaslighting about Joe Biden this entire time. But during this entire time, they've been absolutely destroying Kamala Harris. She is literally the dumbest person in Washington. And you have to remember, Kamala Harris was not Joe Biden's pick. This is the very woman that at the debates told Joe Biden he was absolutely just a huge old white liberal racist. I mean, got on his back hard about his racism. And Joe Biden is a racist. That, believe it or not, you can still find a lot of that online. Conservative sites mostly, liberal sites have scrubbed that also. But Joe Biden is by all means a racist. But as they kept gaslighting and beating down Kamala, Joe Biden's numbers started doing this against one Donald Trump. Now, you cannot convince me that Joe Biden won the 2020 election. You simply can't. I mean, when I went to bed at midnight that night, Donald Trump was up by millions of votes. And then when I woke up the next morning, somehow Joe Biden was up by, 7 million votes? Where did all these votes come in after midnight on election day? Where did they come from? then you simply can't convince me that Joe Biden, who won the least amount of counties ever, got the most votes ever by a president, and got more votes than the liberal god Barack Obama, who won more counties than Joe Biden. You simply can't convince me of that. Something somewhere was crooked during that election. You had a president that campaigned his entire election from the basement and somehow gets the most votes in history, then achieves the lowest approval rating in history, then breaks that approval rating 2 more times. Where are those 81 million voters at? If that were true. But it's not. You cannot convince me Joe Biden won that election. But as time went on, Joe Biden's numbers started doing this. They knew Joe Biden was going to take a beating to Donald Trump, and they knew they were not going to be able to pull because we no longer have a pandemic for them to hide behind. They can no longer pull the shenanigans they pulled last time to put Joe Biden in that office. They know these things. The DNC knows this. They know this. Barack Obama knows this. The higher-ups at BlackRock, who pretty much run the Democrat Party, they know this. The higher-ups at Pfizer knows this. Bill Gates knows this. Barack Obama, like I said, he knows this. They all know this. There is not a pandemic for them to hide behind. What are we going to do? Joe Biden is going to lose to Donald Trump. The one thing we cannot stand is a loss to Donald Trump. What are we going to do? So the DNC and the powers that be start looking at the long game. Joe Biden's going to take this loss. But the problem is he's dragging down the party so much with his pathetic, incompetent vice president, who is the dumbest person in Washington. These two are dragging down the Democrat Party so much that we're going to lose seats in Congress, we're going to lose seats in Senate, and then we have a problem. Because then it is going to be very hard for us to regain total control in 2028. What do we do? Simple. We put a debate together with Donald Trump and we expose Joe Biden for the liars that we are, that everybody will forget about within a couple of days because our complicit, corrupt news media will cover for us. And they did. So, the day before the debate, Joe Biden, sharp as a tack, full of vigor, running around, just spoke with him this morning, on point, very bright-eyed, very witty, very funny. Try to make him human. The day before the debate, Kamala Harris, the worst vice president in the history of America, she must go away because she's dragging down the Dem Party. So what do? Let's put on the debate. Let's go ahead and expose Joe Biden and his incompetency. And this gives us the excuse to get rid of Biden without physically having to go in there and drag him out of that seat. Joe Biden did not want to go. Hell, I got the presidency. Why would I want to give this up? I can do whatever the hell I want. And I can do it on the taxpayer dime. It doesn't cost me a damn thing to live this extravagant superstar, rock star lifestyle. Bink. Let's do the debate. That will expose Joe Biden. We get rid of him. So they do the debate, and obviously the non-brains, they see what us have-brains have already known. Joe Biden's completely incompetent. He simply can't run the country. The wheels started in motion right there. The plans were already drawn up. So what do the powers that be do? They get in touch with one George Clooney. Hey, we need you to kick out an op-ed. Because for some reason, people get political advice from Hollywood weirdos, and that amazes me. Who gives a shit what Taylor Swift thinks? I would never take political advice from somebody in Hollywood or somebody who sings, ever. But George Clooney writes the op-ed. And buddy, talk about the complete, this wasn't a 180, this was a 360. They spun everything so fast, not even Kamala Harris was prepared for what was going to happen. So they do the spin, and George Clooney writes the op-ed. Then you have Barack Obama, you have the CEOs at BlackRock, you have all the CEOs, the CEO and the CFO and all those guys at Pfizer, you have the Bill Gates and all these people. They instantly jump on the bandwagon. We got to get rid of Joe Biden because we cannot let him drag the party down so much we lose seats in Congress and seats in Senate. We cannot lose that much power because we're going to lose the presidency. Joe Biden says, hell no, I refuse to go. This is mine. I earned it. I was elected. Fine. Then we will absolutely destroy your legacy and we'll invoke the 25th. And then you're gone anyway, without a legacy. That scared little Joey Biden. Next thing we know, we have a letter coming out from little Joey Biden saying that how for the betterment of the party, I'm going to step down. We all know Joe Biden did not write that letter. Everybody in the world knows that. Well, the have-brains know it. The non-brains, they have no idea because they have no brains. So that takes place. Now, what are we going to do? We got rid of Joe Biden, but we're still going to lose this election because we've got a limited amount of time to make up a lot of ground against one Donald Trump, whose popularity has never failed. It has never waned. We can't put in Gavin Newsom. He's the future of the party. One of the futures of the party. We can't put in Shapiro. He's too smart. He's the future of the party. He'll see right through what's going on. We can't put in Jeffries. He's the future of the party, and we don't want to vacate that seat right yet. So what do? We're going to lose the presidency. We can't tarnish our golden boys. Let's put in Kamala Harris. She's an idiot. She was never going to see the presidency anyway. If Joe Biden would have won again, she would have done 4 more years as the vice president, and then we would have nominated somebody else and got rid of her because it would have been easy to clean house once they run. Your term's up. Sorry. Got to go. But I want to run for president. Well, sorry. We have much better, smarter people than you. She would never have won the delegates. They know this. And one thing they cannot have is a Gavin Newsom or Hakeem Jeffries or Shapiro. Or I'm not going to say Hochul, because I don't think Hochul's a very good governor. I don't think she would be up there. But you have a Whitmer, Gretchen Whitmer. They can't have one of these people taking the stain on their record of the defeat by Donald Trump. Because they will lie, they will cheat, they will steal. And the corrupt, complicit media will cover up for them and wash that away. But the one thing they cannot wash away is a defeat by Donald Trump. Let's give it to Kamala. Joe Biden was going to lose anyway. Kamala can take the loss because if she wins, thank God. You know, who knew? If she loses, who cares? If we pump enough money into her campaign to rise the joy of the Democrat Party, maybe we can make gains in the Senate and in Congress. Because as long as we have that, we have a much better chance in 2028. If we lose all that, it's gone. We may not win for the next 4, 8, 12 years. And that will not do. So they insert one Kamala Harris. She can take the loss. Her record is shit anyway. She's got a horrible record. Kamala Harris has literally accomplished nothing in 4 years. How can you be the vice president of the United States for 4 years and have zero experience when you come out? I can tell you how, because all she has done is party on the taxpayer dime for the last 4 years. Kamala Harris has done nothing. She's finally going to the border. The woman in charge of the border is finally going to the border because she has to. Because in her wee, feeble mind, she thinks that she might win. She won't win. This has all been gaslighting. The polls are up, the polls are down. The polls are up, the polls are down. Nobody knows what's going on. But here is the rub. Where are these supporters coming from? Because Kamala Harris has no record to run on. And she was not prepared for this. And what the DNC knew is, well, we can't pull a coup on Joe Biden, which is exactly what this was. This was a coup. At no point did Joe Biden voluntarily step down. Joe Biden won 14 million votes to solidify his candidacy to run for president. That is what democracy is. Then they pulled the coup on Joe Biden, and I actually saw Democrats saying, hey, we got rid of our guy. Why don't you get rid of your guy? Because that's not what we do on our side. We support who we vote for because that is democracy. Even if our guy's losing, we're not going to kick him to the curb. We'll just take it on the chin and we will move on because that is democracy. Democracy is not deciding to kick your candidate out in the ninth inning because he's taking an ass whipping from his political opposition, who they have tried to imprison, they've tried to break, they've tried to take his business. They have smeared this guy every way you can possibly think of, and the guy will not go away. He is like herpes. He will not go away. He keeps coming back. Kamala can take the loss because we can't pull a coup and we can't kick the VP to the curb at the same time because Kamala was not the first choice. Kamala was not even the top 10 choices of people to be president because she does not have the mental fortitude to do the job. And nobody fears Kamala Harris. Nobody. How can you fear somebody who talks about Venn diagrams and yellow school buses or sits at a table and says, my name is Kamala Harris. I am a woman in a blue suit and my pronouns are she, her. How can you fear somebody who says that? That's like me getting in a fight with a guy. And I'm like, all right, dude, let's go. Gonna whip your ass. And he's gonna say, excuse me? My pronouns are he, him. And at that point, I would probably just walk away because I would feel like I'm hitting a woman. I would just walk away. But she wasn't ready for this. There was no way she was ready for this. This was a blindside. Bam. And what had happened, the reason it took so long for everybody to endorse Kamala Harris is because she was not the person they wanted. But they knew they could not pull a coup on Biden and kick out the VP in the same time because that was too much for even the Democrats to have to swallow. And the DNC knew the repercussions, the blowback would have been devastating to their party. So what do? Well, we have to throw support into Kamala Harris, who, by the way, to give her credit where credit is due, because like I said, Kamala Harris was not the choice. But when they pulled the coup on Joe Biden, Kamala Harris saw an opportunity to garner enough support from the liberal non-brainers to make enough noise to where the DNC had to put her in. So the DNC backed her because, like I said, you can't pull a coup and get rid of the vice president in one shot. And maybe if we throw enough money into her, if we put enough cash and we get enough people thinking Kamala Harris, joy, people power, joy, joy, joy. We don't need a policy. We don't need a platform. We have neither. But we have joy. And I remember watching that idiot Bryan Cranston on a TV show. Bryan Cranston, why are you voting for Kamala Harris? Because you know the joy. I haven't seen joy like this in years. I'm voting for the joy. Yeah, because joy is going to keep Putin or Xi from bombing the shit out of America and, destroying us. Because joy is going to do that. Because joy is going to put a magical fairy dome over the United States and protect us from everything, all of our adversaries. Can't hurt us. We got the joy fairy dome above us. Shit bounces off. So Kamala Harris saw an opportunity. I got to give her credit where credit is due. And she took this opportunity. But you have to remember, the day before the election, the entire world hated Kamala Harris. Even the Democrats. Now, there's a couple of articles I could not find. And like I said, there's a couple of things on YouTube I was looking for. One was MSNBC, where they said that Kamala Harris is literally the worst vice president in the history of America and makes very poor decisions. That video is gone. It is scrubbed. The other one is a video of CNN saying that Kamala Harris, that Joe Biden needs to get rid of Kamala Harris because she will cause him to lose the election. And then basically she needs to go away. That video is gone and scrubbed. Can't find them anywhere. But I did dig up a couple of things. So here we go right here. This proves my point. I cannot find the people supposedly supporting Kamala Harris. Let me read this article and I'll expand on that just a minute more. Kamala Harris receives worst vice presidential rating in NBC News polls history. Okay? This was in 2023, halfway through the year. Worst vice president in history. NBC News reported on Monday that Vice President Kamala Harris has the dubious distinction of having the lowest net negative rating of a modern vice president in the history of their polling. According to a new NBC News poll, only 32% of registered voters have a positive view of Harris compared to 49% with a negative view, including 39% with a very negative view. This leaves Harris with a net minus 17 rating, which NBC News noted is the lowest for any vice president in the poll's history. So how do you go from there to being the presidential candidate? How does this happen? Because they knew she was going to lose. She can take the hit because her career is over anyway. But let's move on. Now, like I said, I couldn't find the other two because they're just gone. They're just absolutely gone. But let me get rid of this. But to go back, what I was saying is I simply can't find these people who are voting for Kamala Harris that the corrupt media keeps telling us that are voting for Kamala Harris. She lost the Teamsters endorsement. They've been voting Democrat since Jesus. And Kamala Harris lost it. Now, the Teamster, what's his name? Sean, whatever his name is. Okay, he's obviously an idiot because they released a poll of how the people in the Teamsters Union is voting. 60% for Trump. 30% for Kamala Harris, 10% undecided. So let's split that 10%. Let's give half to Cammie and half to Donnie. Now Donald Trump is at 65%, Kamala Harris is at 35%. This is the Teamsters Union. These people were born a Democrat. She lost the endorsement. That is a win for Trump. Even if they don't endorse Trump, that is a win for Trump because they did not endorse her because that's how bad she is. Her policies are terrible. She's done nothing for 4 years. So who are all these people voting for Kamala Harris? Because I can't seem to find them. But I did come across this article. And believe it or not, this was not on CBS News, and this is the one place I couldn't find it. And then I got to be honest, I didn't search that deeply for it, but I couldn't find this on CBS News. So, but I did find this.
Much fun. But what was really incredible is in every single restaurant of the people willing to talk to us, we could only find one Harris supporter in every restaurant. And we left no stone unturned. I approached every single person, except for this one guy who I think had too many drinks at the bar. But people are really excited about Trump.
Diaz toured restaurants in Reno, North Las Vegas, as part of the 3 Meal segment on CBS This Morning, where reporters visit battleground states to gauge public opinion. The Republican has not won Nevada since 2004. Co-host Tony Dokupil reported the state remains in a statistical tie between Harris and Trump. Diaz surprised the show's host on Monday by revealing she found it hard to find Harris supporters in Nevada. Who are these people voting for Kamala? And it's like this. I find this type of results all the time. I find it all the time. Who are these people supporting Kamala? I'm watching this guy on YouTube. He's in New York City. And he's just walking down the sidewalk asking people, who are you voting for? It was easily 80% Trump, 20% Kamala Harris in New York City. Where are these people voting for Kamala? Who's lying and who's gaslighting? And why are they doing it? Well, I told you why they're doing it. They're pumping up Kamala's numbers, which are not real, in hopes of the long game, knowing they're going to lose to Donald Trump, and they're going to lose. Kamala Harris will not win. Because they're looking at Congress. They're looking at the Senate. If you lose control of both of those, even if you get the presidency in 2028, doesn't matter. You have to have 2 chambers, with one of them being the presidency. So you got to have the presidency in Congress, the presidency in the Senate. Because if you do not have the presidency and the other team's got Congress and the Senate, you have a lame duck president for 4 years. That gets nothing accomplished. Absolutely nothing. And they know that. Put the person up who can take the loss, the person who can take the bullet for the team, the person who can take the black eye. That's Kamala Harris. She's the one putting her life on the line right here for the Democrat Party, and they know that. Unfortunately, she doesn't know that. But Barack Obama, George Clooney, all the people at BlackRock, Bill Gates, they all know that. She's taking one for the team. She's going to take the loss. And that way it keeps their golden boys, it keeps them safe. Because they can do all kinds of corrupt things. The media will cover for them. The one thing they can't take is a loss to Donald Trump.